Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School,
Great Mills High School,
Santa Fe High School.
Shooting after shooting after shooting, it's damaging.
If it can happen there, like it can definitely happen here.
I feel like it's so ingrained in American culture.
This time is different.
Also, slavery was kind of American culture, and we've moved on.
These students gathered without fear of consequences.
Downtown marches, speeches,
Marching on the Capitol.
This group of kids will be the group that changes things.
And that coalition, I think, is what is actually leading us into the future and what's actually going to make change.
My earliest memory of a school shooting is watching Bowling for Columbine when I shouldn't have been watching it.
He's shooting in the library right now. He's firing shots from the library. Firing shots in the library. Our way, do we need to leave?
I live in Arlington. Nothing really crazy ever happens here, and to see that nothing crazy really ever happened where Columbine happened either, and it still happened, was really haunting. I don't think after that point it was ever possible to feel safe in school.
I remember the Sandy Hook shooting because there was like a Glee thing that was like a spin-off of the Sandy Hook. So like I watched that and I was so scared for like these fictional people, but like that's how I processed it when I was like 12.
I kind of didn't really understand, and I had to have my parents explain to me what was going on. So my mom was trying to explain what happened. I had a lot of conflict trying to figure out why it happened and if it was possible to happen at my school.
Some shooting had happened, and in my head I was thinking, ugh, who now? I would never say that out loud when I'm talking to someone, but just in my head, I was fed up with myself at that thought, because I'm just thinking like, wow, it's so normal, it's so just like, oh, it happened.
Sometimes bad people do bad things. Although it is very unlikely to happen, should you be caught in the middle of an active shooter event, you must be prepared.
He has a gun, he has a gun.
Lockdowns prepare you, at least that's what they say, until like something real is happening.
I remember having my first lockdown drill when I was in kindergarten. We were still too young to like fully comprehend it. Like we were practicing for first shooter came in.
Sit in the corner and we'd giggle and chuckle and hee-hee-ha and like play around, like not really understanding that like there's a reason for this. Locking the door is not gonna do anything for a gun. Hiding in a corner isn't gonna do anything.
Us all, huddling in a corner is a little bit terrifying that somebody could easily open the door and shoot us all down. And so when you think about it, somebody makes a nervous joke. Oh, we would all be dead if this was a real shooter situation. Everyone like nervously laughs. As soon as you start doing hypotheticals, what would happen right now, it gets a little bit too real.
Attention all units in District 15, possible shots fired at 5901 Pine Island Road at Stoneman Douglas High School. Possible shots fired at Stoneman Douglas High School.
I was scrolling through Twitter and I saw an article, and it was like, breaking news, there's a shooter in a school in Parkland, Florida.
I had 2 long car rides that day and the day after, and I was listening to the coverage on the radio the entire time, and it was almost hard to focus on the road.
My best friend has texted me like 30 times to look at the news, look at the news, look at the news. And I was so confused how like someone can take a day of love and turn it into like a day that's so devastating.
We all saw that as kind of having like thrown in our faces that this is still happening and like it can happen to all schools, and like because Parkland was like named one of like the safest places in Florida, and it happened.
Their high school is similar to mine. It's over 3,000 students from all kinds of places, and they feel safe in school, and I felt safe in school.
It was very emotional just listening to kids my age give interviews talking about not knowing what was happening, talking about the aftermath.
The Parkland kids are my age, and it was like really scary then. Later that evening when like names were starting to be released, and now I'm seeing pictures of these people and seeing like, this person looks like my friend, or like I could have very well been in class with this person, or this person reminds me of my younger sister. All of my friends were afraid and uncomfortable and like didn't want to be in school anymore. Not just in their usual like teenager, I hate school, but in the like, I feel like a target.
I saw what happened in Parkland, and I said it was too close to home. You know, my sister was from there, and we often visit Coral Springs, which is a town nearby. And I was, this is awful, but I didn't really know what I could do or what to do. I didn't know about the walkout that was going on the next month. I didn't really know what was happening. My turning point was March 20th at my school.
Central hallway inside the building. A young man with a gun confronted a teenage girl, and gunfire broke out.
We were upstairs in my math classroom, and like we heard people screaming and stuff. Like we thought it was just a fight.
I was at home. I woke up. I had slept in that morning by chance. I slept in, and I woke up and checked my phone, and I had some missed texts and some messages, and my phone was kind of going crazy. People asking where I was okay.
They said that people were fleeing from the school and screaming that someone had a gun, but like I didn't want to believe that.
I see the news reports that someone had been shot at my school. I'm like, Mom, like someone was shot at school. It's like, no, there wasn't. Like, yes, there was. Like, look at the news.
I had met the shooter before, and like I had friends who were close with him, and like who like he ate lunch with the day before, and my friends who were close with him like said that he was like laughing and smiling the day before and like seemed perfectly fine.
And I had sent a text saying, hey, has anyone seen Jalen? You know, we can't find her. Let me know. And so, oh yeah, she's in the library. And then, oh wait, wasn't her, sorry. And later we found out that Jalen had been shot.
After 2 days of hoping that all of the victims in this latest high school shooting would make it, tonight we learned that one of them will not.
We will be taking her off life support this evening.
I had never been to a funeral before, so my first funeral was Jalen's. And I walked in, and there was pictures of her everywhere. They were handing out her chocolate chip cookie recipe, because she loved to bake. And I saw Jalen lying in her casket. That was a very hard day.
Parkland made me want to fight, and it made me extremely sad. But like when it happened to our school, like I saw my friends crying, and like I saw teachers crying, and just like it became so much more personal.
And that was the point where I was like, I like hit my limit. I was like, hey Molly, like what can I do to help? What can I do to get the ball rolling? Because I was really tired of crying at that point.
I remember crying from just about start to finish because of the fact that like it was organized by students. I think that was one of the most moving parts about it, is that like, whereas I was struggling to organize a group to even show up to this thing, there was a group of students who, in the face of disaster and adversity, mobilized and created this amazing thing.
Where they choose incrementalism, we choose real change. Where they embrace an extremism.
The most surreal moment for me was to see what they've gone through, what others have gone through, all there for the same vision and the same passion.
Just to be surrounded by students who all cared about the same thing as you and who were really driven to push for change, it was incredibly empowering.
For once, I could see myself being represented. Someone was finally speaking up for me, and I was just so incredibly touched.
It was definitely motivation, but I think it also kind of made me feel like I wasn't alone in this, and that was definitely really important.
March for Our Lives was really that vantage point where I was like, we can't stop now.
To move on because 19 years later, almost nothing has been done to cure America of the senseless disease.
It just in my family, there's been a history of like we're not going to sit on the sidelines. I have to be part of this. Like this is, we're not going to just sit at home and do nothing.
Seeing candles lit for them on the street, seeing prayers written for their souls on T-shirts, and all of the children that I know that have victory. Bullets go through their bodies as if the shooter wanted to see through them.
I was not an organizer before. Like, I'm not even an organized person, but it's like when something needs to be done, I guess sometimes things just like make themselves go into motion.
No child should be subject to witnessing the murder of another child at the hands of another child.
It's easy to get people to come to events and to knock doors on this issue because they see it on the news and they see it in their communities and they're worried about it. At my school, we registered just 424 brand new voters just a couple weeks ago. And you do that at schools across the nation, those people are going to show up in November.
I do feel that since I have the privilege of being only about an hour from DC, that it's really important for me to get up here and be using my voice.
We're in the Capitol's backyard and they didn't care. And now I'm furious.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Same thought.
Yeah.
Guns are not evil. People can be evil.
People will love to tell me all about their guns. Online, you see these like 15-point essays that people comment on our posts. What is a well-regulated militia? What is an arm?
Yeah, the biggest change that could happen is to get rid of gun-free zones, because 98% of these mass killings and shootings happen in a place where the shooter knows that there's not going to be anybody there shooting back at him.
I don't even have words for my anger about the NRA. Do you genuinely think that your guns are more valuable than the lives of your children and your children's friends?
Just because I don't support gun control doesn't mean I'm not the future too. Our whole generation is the future. We just need to have conversations, that's it.
I think a lot of people in the NRA are good people, but the organization as a whole, they're pushing back on us in ways that just aren't necessary.
You want to save innocent lives? Take the millions of dollars going to this carnival of a march and hire armed guards in schools all over this country. But then these kids would have to shrink from the spotlight and go back to their homework.
They're pushing back on us in ways that are honestly making them complicit.
Thanks, anybody, to be for Santa Fe High School. I need you to stay. School shooting, you have an active shooter, several people down.
We also need to apply for an officer down.
10-4, we got him.
It's still kind of hard to have the knowledge that like we weren't the last kids who will like go to like their classmates' funeral, and like we weren't the last kids to have to like go back to school in a hallway where people were killed. Rationally, we knew that we wouldn't be the last one, but having it thrown in your face, like this will continue to happen to other schools, that hurt.
Never in my life have I ever experienced something.
I felt like I needed to do something, so I started to get people together, and about 2 o'clock that afternoon, we decided that we were gonna go to Paul Ryan's office.
It was just imperative that because we were so close to Washington, D.C., to the lawmakers which really can do something, we had to be at the forefront and do something about it.
How we doing, guys? Who's in charge? Anybody? What's your name?
Brenna.
Brenna? You know you can't lay down in the hallway, right?
Yeah.
What's your agenda today?
Trying to convince Paul Ryan to allow the vote.
Okay.
Obviously, like, none of us wanted to get arrested, but it's a sacrifice we were willing to make. The entire mission for us was to just make a statement that's saying, hey, we're here, we're not going away.
What we see here today is just the beginning.
Hello, my name is Havana Chapman-Edwards, and I'm in 1st grade. This spring, I participated in the March for Our Lives and then the National Walkout Day. I walked out to honor the kids who died in Columbine and the 1st graders at Sandy Hook Elementary School, as well as my cousin Tony, who was shot and killed when he was only 17 years old. I was the only one to walk out at my school, but I knew I was not alone. I walked out because I believe the United States government needs to have laws to protect us. If they don't fight for us, we have to fight for ourselves.
You can buy a weapon with pretty much no certification at a gun show with a friend or family member and just shoot it whenever you want.
I think that like the same way that you have to renew your license you need to have to renew your gun license and like have to go through mandatory courses and evaluations to make sure that you are still a fit gun owner.
There is no reason in America that you should be able to get your hands on a gun without the federal government or the state government making sure that you have no violent history, no domestic abuse on your record.
If we have the money to arm teachers, we have the money to arm our teachers with better mental health services in our schools, to arm our students with that.
There was research that showed of the last couple mass shootings, an inordinate number of the shooters were under 21. So taking away guns from people who are 21 or younger seems to me like a very clear action.
The focus of attention is on these young people. They are leading. In this case, Congress might have to follow, but we should follow them. They are leading on this. They are showing us the way.
Since Parkland, where we've seen the rise of youth activism and real youth engagement on this issue and saying, I want a safer future, you adults are letting us down. I love what the kids are doing and I support them wholeheartedly.
I think this group of kids will be the group that changes things because this year is the first time that really people born after the Columbine shooting can vote, and this is a group of kids like me who have been raised with like having school shooting drills like our whole life, and we're just tired of it.
I stand here today to fight for reform because I don't want the next generation to have to plead politicians for a fair game. I stand here today because this is no school shootings in this country and it shouldn't. Thank you.
What do we want? Gun control! What do we want? No! This is what democracy looks like!
We are here, under our First Amendment rights, freely speaking and marching and assembling and petitioning our state legislature, our state legislators, and our state government.
We're all networking, and we're all meeting each other whether or not we live in the same state or even in the same city. And so we're making these connections and we're growing and we're expanding until we become a student body of the entire United States. And that coalition, I think, is what is actually leading us into the future and what's actually going to make change.
I am here because I want to tell you all that pressure is progress. For 4 months, I tried to meet with Governor Hogan. After the shooting, I reached out to his office. I reached out to his staffers. I sent emails and tweets and phone calls, and I got no response. On Wednesday at noon, I got an email from his office. They had heard about our rally and they wanted to meet with me.
The family has been incredible. The group of students that I've joined has been incredible. I love everyone.
She's Jamaica St. Miss Jackson has organized this. She is amazing. Can we all just cheer for her?
But honestly, I would give it all back. I would get every single bit of it back to go back to March 19th and not have it happen at my school. I would give back every single person, every single piece of news coverage, every single rally to go back.
Our lives are in the hands of the people who can change laws at this point. Don't take that for granted, because the minute you change your mind and decide to choose our lives over your pride, over your NRA donations, over your guns, is the moment that you save another child's life, is one less cap and gown that gets laid across a seat at a graduation. It's one more diploma someone gets to receive, one more graduation party. You have our lives in your hands. Make the right choice, not just the convenient choice.